Well, as we watch a movement to legalize personal pot in the tri-state, we look to Colorado, where recreational pot has now been legal for 5 years. In our series, Pot's Real Price, we dive into two big concerns. Will it lead to an increase in driving under the influence, and will more teenagers use it? Our investigative reporter, Sarah Wallace, went along with cops in Colorado, and she talked with school administrators and counselors there. Sarah, what did they tell you?
Well, David and Stacy, the bottom line is that proponents of pot spin statistics and surveys their way. Opponents have their own take. Tracking the reality is an ongoing challenge that we're going to face here as well.
So these are all the calls pending in the city right now.
It's always a busy night in the Aurora Police Department's traffic division. We were invited for a ride along.
The concern with marijuana and driving would be the same as driving while under the influence of alcohol.
And that's a big concern statewide because there's an alarming trend. Tom Gorman heads up Rocky Mountain HIDA, a coalition of law enforcement groups which conducted a widespread recent study on drug use.
And we're seeing an increase in traffic deaths of marijuana related. In fact, 150% increase since they legalized marijuana for recreational purposes.
It's unclear whether pot use contributed or caused any of those accidents, but a statewide DOT survey found 55% of those questioned believe it was safe to drive under the influence of pot. A similar number said they had driven high within the past 30 days. Pot users we spoke with at a private smoking club outside of Denver don't believe there's a problem.
When you drink, sometimes you feel like you're invincible. Usually when you smoke cannabis, you're more overcautious.
The place closes at 12 o'clock, just like a bar. You don't go in a bar like 20 minutes before it closes and slam 5 drinks and then I'm getting ready to go home. Nobody does that.
There is currently no reliable roadside test to measure THC, the psychoactive ingredient in marijuana.
So if we suspect marijuana or any sort of drugs in addition to alcohol, then a lot of times we'll request a blood test.
But blood test results don't come back for weeks. Another issue, there was no real data collection before pot became legal in Colorado, so researchers don't have a baseline for comparison. Aurora police officer Kevin Deichel, a certified drug enforcement instructor, says they're noticing another disturbing trend.
We've had cases where people are running down the street naked, sweating profusely, doing bizarre things, jumping off of roofs, things along those lines. And during the course of the investigation, then we learned that they're actually just under the influence of cannabis.
The cannabis produced today is 3 times more potent than it was 30 years ago.
And what about the hot button issue of teens and pot? We came here to a school district in Colorado Springs to examine that.
A lot of people anticipated that we would see a spike in use among students, and we haven't really seen that.
And that's true statewide. Officials report 1 in 5 students currently uses pot. That hasn't changed since legalization. But administrators and counselors tell us they worry about a more subtle impact.
We see an increase of students who perceive the marijuana use as not harmful because it's natural, because it's legal. Sometimes we ask them, you know, how did you have access? Well, mom and dad smoke it. Sometimes we smoke it together. Sometimes I get it from Big Brother.
The state has now launched a PSA campaign warning parents to keep pot away from their kids.
So be sure to always keep your marijuana locked up.
But that's a tough sell when there are so many attractive products, from cookies to candies to gummies.
I don't think that a lot of students understand how powerful they really are. And so if they look like a gummy bear, and I don't know about you, if I see a bag of gummy bears, I'm not eating one, right? You're going to eat multiple.
Local Colorado Springs residents we talked to have mixed feelings.
For teenagers, I don't think that's a good thing, and because it is available, if they see their parents doing it, they'll think it's just fine.
I would much rather send my kid to a friend's house whose parents had smoked a little bit of pot than whose parents had drank a bunch.